morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look. It is that time of the year where I tell you what the next rotation is going to be. And I feel very, very confident this year, not least of all because Pokemon have basically already told us. You see, ladies and gentlemen, the next rotation, the 2021 rotation, which will be kicking in at the end of August, beginning of September, is going to be Sword and Shield on. Every set from Sword and Shield onwards is going to be legal. Every set from Cosmic Eclipse backwards is going to be not legal for standard tournament play. For what it's worth, if you want my prediction as to Expanded is going to stay black and white on because, well, I mean, firstly, they've never rotated Expanded. And secondly, if we take a look at the announcement of the 2021 rotation, i.e. the rotation for the 2021 format, last year's rotation, it literally reads, at the beginning of every Championship Series season, Pokemon Organized Play removes older expansions from competition in the standard format. That's not an explicit statement, but there is a heavy implication there that they will not be rotating the expanded format, and the rotation is for standard. So don't expect an expanded rotation, expect it to be just black and white on as it always has been since it came in. But for the standard format, expect Sword and Shield on. Now, there are many reasons why it's going to be Sword and Shield on. We'll get to all them and why it makes sense in a minute. But we probably need to start with the biggest piece of information, the most explicit one, because it says in the previous rotation announcement, all cards from the Sword and Shield series have a letter in the bottom left-hand corner called a regulation mark. In the future, this mark will determine which cards are allowed in tournament play. For the 2021 season, last season, all cards with the deregulation mark are legal to use in tournaments, and then new cards must follow the usual 2 weeks to be legal. Here's the thing. There's a reason those regulation marks exist. Now, for what it's worth, Japan are actually already using them. We started from D, Japan obviously started from A. So basically, in Japan, they have rotated to C onwards. We are going to rotate to D onwards. Now, next year, that's actually, and we are, 18 months out at this stage, but it's going to be really awkward because we're going to be rotating to, E onwards, which is half of Shining Fates onwards. Half of Shining Fates will rotate, half of Shining Fates will remain legal, and it will be slightly awkward. Although I still contend regulation marks is by far the best way to do it. This year, no such problem, no such issue. Every Sword and Shield era card is regulation mark D or above, so every Sword and Shield card will be legal. That's all your promos, everything. It's going to be very, very simple. There are a bunch of other reasons why it has to be Sword and Shield on. Sword and Shield was a new block. We know that Pokemon love rotating to new blocks, Sword and Shield being a whole new block, so that was always going to be the case. We know that Pokemon release 4 sets a year and want to rotate 4 sets a year, and we'll get to this in a second, but this would rotate 4 main sets, so that fits with absolutely what they want. It would mean all GXs rotated out, including tag team GXs, which would be incredibly easy. It's nice and easy when every single of a particular card is gone. We know that every single Prism Star would be rotated out. So Prism Stars would be gone. And again, it's much neater when we can say Prism Stars aren't legal, GXs aren't legal. But it would mean that every single Pokemon V would be legal for tournament play. All the Vs and VMAXs are gone. Now, the other thing that is, of course, very, very upsetting is that Fairy would officially be gone. We know that Fairy hasn't been printed in the Sword and Shield block, so we know that Fairy Pokemon would officially be gone. They would no longer be legal in the standard format. We would still have that question about Dragon Pokemon and whether they're legal and whether they're coming back. And essentially what would happen is every previously released Dragon Pokemon would rotate out from standard, but we've officially been told that Fairy Pokemon are gone. We've not been told that Dragon Pokemon are gone. So they could still come back one day. We have absolutely no idea. It's a little bit strange. So for at least all of those reasons, the rotation has to be Regulation Mark D onwards, which equates extremely neatly to Sword and Shield on. And this is about the nicest rotation we get. Whenever we rotate to a proper new block, as in one that represents a new generation of video games, we always get really nice, smooth, easy rotations. It makes it really easy for newer players, because of course Sword and Shield cards look different to Sun and Moon cards, so it really does make it nice and easy to go. So I'm not going to be going through every card we lose. When it's officially announced, we'll do a series of videos going through that. But we do need to take a quick look at what I like to see as the headlines of rotation. I know a lot of people like to try and prepare for rotation. We are getting to that stage. We're looking at Chilling Reign spoilers in Japan at the moment, and Chilling Reign is going to come out like 6 weeks before we rotate. So I think going through some headlines at this stage of the year is pretty fun. One thing I do need to mention is we don't know if the rotation is kind of middle of August pre-Worlds or end of August after Worlds. But of course, Worlds this year is cancelled. Every year we have that big question now of whether we're going to rotate before or after the World Championships. And the answer is, it doesn't matter, nobody cares, the World Championships isn't happening, so that's kind of a moot point. So in terms of sets then, I said we are losing 4 main sets, and we are. We are losing Team Up, Unbroken Bonds, Unified Minds, and Cosmic Eclipse. When I say main set, I mean we get 4 sets a year. They are released in February, May, August, and November. Those are our main sets. Any other sets, and I keep getting people who want to argue otherwise, they're not main sets. Now, we are getting a couple of mini sets rotated as well. Hidden Fates is being rotated, and Detective Pikachu is being rotated as well. Both of those sets are going. They're not really providing much of an impact at all, those sets. They're not particularly, well, they're not particularly relevant, but they are going. They will be going away. They were part of the Sword and Shield block, so to speak. Alrighty then. So, headlines then. What's going to happen? Well, Jirachi's going to be gone. And Jirachi is absolutely huge. Jirachi from Team Up, it's got the ability to let you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, find a trainer, put it in your hand, go to sleep. Everybody said it was going to be gone when a skateboard rotated out. It wasn't. It was still great. Well, now it is going to be rotating out, and that is going to be a big deal. Japan's rotation weirdly rotated just a couple cards that we still have, including this Jirachi. It had rotation mark B. And over in Japan, they have actually been substituting it for Amazing Rare Jirachi, so that might be one to start picking up sooner rather than later. Lightning decks will be taking a big hit come rotation. Pikachu and Zekrom is rotating out, and that has obviously been one of the very best decks since the moment it dropped. We are also losing Tapu Koko Prism Star, for what it's worth, and we are losing Raichu and Alozum Raichu. So, Lightning decks as a whole. Oh, and Electromagnetic Radar is pretty big. So, yeah, fair to say Lightning decks are being hit very hard. But probably not as much as Fire decks. Fire decks are losing Welder. Lets you attach extra energy, draw cards, that's gone. Fire Crystal to get your energy from your discard pile, that's gone. Giant Hearth to get your energy from your deck, that's gone. Volcanion, both a great non-GX, non-V attacker, and a really good way to get energy in the early game with Firestarter, that is gone. And Heatran GX, obviously it's a GX, but that was your GX attack. It was your one big attack during the game. It was a really good way you could move energy over using its ability and then take out single prize Pokemon. These are huge losses for Fire decks. And Center Scorch, maybe it can still work, because it uses as few as 2 energy. Same thing with Victini VMAX. Maybe there is a chance that decks like Center Scorch and Victini can start low and build themselves up. That is an option. But make no mistake about it, Fire decks as a whole are really getting hit very, very hard by the rotation. And they are not going to be the same. Metal decks are losing their tanky options. So metal decks have had loads of really good options to stop them taking a bunch of damage, and unfortunately they are going to be going away. So we're losing Lucario and Melmetal with the GX attack that makes your metal Pokemon take 30 less damage for the rest of the game. And we're losing Metal Goggles that reduces damage done to you, and we're losing Metal Core Barrier, which reduces damage done to you. And basically, those tanky metal decks, they aren't going to be the same. Now, one of the biggest losses to the rotation, unless something changes drastically, is going to be Mew. And I know that Mew hasn't actually seen a huge amount of play lately. It's been under the radar. It's been an occasional tech. But when Battle Styles becomes legal, overnight, Rapid Strike Urshifu V Max is going to become one of the very best decks in the entire game. And one of the main reasons is G-Max Rapid Flow, free energy, discard them all, 120 to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. But remember, you've got Rapid Strike Energy, so it's really only 2 energy attachments. And then you've got a single energy attack that does 150, so it's not even like discarding all that energy is really that big a deal. And what's going to essentially happen is everyone is going to have to play Mew in their deck, because if they don't, Rapid Strike Urshifu is going to crush you. Playing an evolving deck, you've got 2 basics out, they both go down. Support Pokemon like Chinchino, they will be going down. You are going to be losing so many prizes so quickly. Not to mention it does enough damage to KO either a Dedenne or a Crobat in the active. Make no mistake about it, this is a phenomenal card. So everybody is going to play Mew because it's got bench barrier, it protects your bench, and it will really slow down Rapid Strike Urshifu. Still going to be a top deck, but Mew is going to be pretty much essential against it. Until Mew rotates out. And I've seen a few people going, oh, well, we're definitely going to get a new bench barrier Pokemon. Are we? Because you know what? The only set we've got before rotation is Chilling Reign. Now, we've seen probably 30 to 40% of Chilling Reign, and we haven't seen it yet. And Mew came out in Unified Minds, and as it stands at the moment, we don't have a replacement. Now, that's not to say we're not going to get one. There absolutely could be one in Chilling Reign. There's a bunch of that set we've not yet seen. But as it stands at the moment, we aren't getting one. And Rapid Strike Urshifu is going to absolutely crush if there's no Mew in the format. Dedenne GX is going to be rotating out. Now, we do have Crobat as a nice replacement, but it is going to make Crobat absolutely essential. And if you don't have Crobat, you should go and get that. Again, part of this video is supposed to be helping to prepare you a little bit, like telling you to pick up Jirachi Amazing Rare, and telling you to pick up Crobat if you haven't already, because these are a pretty big deal. I also think that the Rotom that came around in Shining Fates could be pretty big. It lets you grab, you can basically quick ball for it, and then grab a Rotom bike, and then draw till you got 6 cards in your hand. It does a very similar thing to Crobat. Admittedly, it's 2 spots in your deck rather than 1, but still, it's something that you could consider as a more budget-friendly option. Either way, it's something we need to take seriously. With Dedenne going away, Crobat is going to become absolutely just essential in basically every deck. Reset Stamp is going away, which is going to make comebacks a bit harder. At the moment, we've got decks that are a bit slower and know they're going to go down a bunch of prizes, but they also know that they have the option of just using Reset Stamp in the late game to try and forge a little bit of a comeback. That is not going to be an option when the rotation hits. We're going to have Marnie, but in terms of, it's late in the game, I'm behind, I need to slow down my opponent, Reset Stamp is a bazillion times better than Marnie. Again, any of the cards I'm talking about here could be replaced in Chilling Reign, but like I say, we've seen over a third of Chilling Reign, and we have not seen replacements for any of these cards. That's why it's quite relevant. What I like to refer to as peripheral supporters, we're losing a bunch of these. We're not losing the big ones. Marnie is staying. Professor's Research is staying. We are keeping the big guns, but we're losing a bunch of the extra ones that people play. Erica's Hospitality, that's going away. Cynthia and Caitlyn, which does actually see a huge amount of play. That one's going. Rosa helps you set up after a KO. That one's going away. And Green's Exploration, which admittedly has fallen out of faith in the past few months. Fallen out of faith? That's not the phrase. Fallen out of favour. Let's go for that. But they're all going away, and they're not huge losses, but there's enough of them that it is probably going to make a bit of an impact. It's also interesting to note that our stadium options are getting so much worse. Chaotic Swell is going away. That is, of course, the ultimate counter stadium. We're losing Power Plant. Now, to be fair, Power Plant turns off GX abilities, and we're losing all the GXs, so admittedly, if it stayed, it would be pointless, but that's still seen a bunch of play. Viridian Forest to search out basic energy, and then you got the Prism Stars, Black Market Prism Star and Wondrous Labyrinth Prism Star. Black Market means that Darkness Pokemon give up one fewer prize if they got Darkness energy, great in Darkness decks, and Wondrous Labyrinth just increases the cost of attacking for non-fairy Pokemon by one colourless energy. And this hasn't just been seen in fairy decks. Any decks that naturally overpay like Center Scorch or any disruption decks have been playing this. We've still got a bunch of stadiums, but I made a little list of the biggest cards going away from each set, and there were a large amount of stadiums. The amount of choice we've got is actually going down quite a bit. Now, I want to finish taking a look at our, early rotation primer, so to speak. I want to talk about the top decks and what's happening. So, Zacian ADP, well, obviously ADP is rotating out, so that deck is entirely gone. Having said that, Zacian, along with Berserker and Rusted Sword, does look like it is still going to be an absolute option for just big damage. So I don't think Zacian's going anywhere, but Zacian ADP is. Pikarom decks are obviously going because Pikarom is rotating. Mewtwo and Mew decks, they're losing all of their GX options, but they're also losing Mewtwo and Mew. So Mewtwo and Mew is going to be gone because it is literally rotating itself. Blacephalon is another one. It doesn't seem to be quite as good now as it has been in previous months, but Blacephalon's been hanging around for the entire format, and that one will be going away because Blacephalon is rotating. We're losing cards like Welder, but mostly we're losing Blacephalon. Eternatus is going to be absolutely fine. We keep Eternatus, we keep Crobat. There's no huge cards that deck once it is going away. That one is going to be absolutely fine. Urshifu V Max, Rapid Strike, like I've mentioned, is going to be way better because Mew going away really helps it. It is losing Jirachi EX, which covers its weakness, and I mentioned in a video a couple of days ago, Dragapult V Max is actually making a big comeback at the moment because it hits weakness on Urshifu, and you play it with Urshifu, so you're not worried about Eternatus, because against Eternatus, you just play Urshifu, and against Urshifu, you play Dragapult. So Dragapult's made a big comeback lately. Jirachi's actually a really important card for Urshifu. That going away is going to suck. But as long as we don't get a replacement, Mew going away makes Rapid Strike Urshifu way, way better. Center Scorch and Victini VMAX I am undecided about. Yes, we're losing Welder and the other fire tricks, but Center Scorch attaches to itself when it attacks. You can use Turbo Patch in the early game. It's low energy to begin with, the pair of them, so I still think there is a chance for them to be pretty gosh darn good. And then I don't know how much you count it as a top deck, but Inteleon Frostmoth will again be fine, because we are keeping the main components of that deck. The main things we need to play it are absolutely going to survive. And again, Lucario and Melmetal with Zacian is going to go away, because Lucario and Melmetal is rotating, though we are still going to have those other Zacian variants. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the rotation. That is why it's going to be Sword and Shield, and that is generally as a big overview of what's going to happen when the rotation kicks in. But now it's over to you guys. I want to know if you disagree with it being Sword and Shield on, although bear in mind that is all but confirmed. And I want to know which cards you are sad about leaving the rotation and which ones you are happy to see the back of. So go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio.